U.S.-Iran ceasefire appears to be teetering on the edge, with new fighting today threatening to blow up the temporary pause in the war. These were the scenes today, Israel's military striking blow after blow in Lebanon, as it says it's targeting Hezbollah militants there. This airstrike sending debris soaring into the air over Beirut. And rescuers in a desperate search for survivors. The government there saying hundreds have been killed, and now Iran claims that's a violation of the ceasefire. And there are questions tonight about whether the Strait of Hormuz is open or not. Despite that, we are seeing economic optimism here at home. The price of oil with its biggest drop in years, with the hope gas prices will follow. And look at this. The stock market today exploded, the Dow having its best day in a year. And tonight we know the vice president is heading to Pakistan for negotiations as the world holds its breath to see if this fragile ceasefire becomes lasting peace. Our team stretching from the White House to Wall Street to Saudi Arabia. We start things off with Gabe Gutierrez.
Tonight, the ceasefire is under fire amid confusion over what the U.S., Israel, and Iran have actually agreed to. Israel today launching its biggest attacks yet against Iran-backed Hezbollah in Lebanon. The country's civil defense saying at least 254 people were killed and more than 1,100 wounded. Israel and the U.S. say the ceasefire does not include Lebanon, but Iran disagrees and now says it shut down the Strait of Hormuz yet again in retaliation. What's the White House response to that?
That is completely unacceptable. And again, this is a case of what they're saying publicly is different privately. We have seen an uptick of traffic in the strait today.
According to the tracking firm Marine Traffic, at least 3 ships have passed through the strait since the ceasefire began. 4 oil tankers are there right now, but none seem to be moving. Throughout the war, Iran has been charging ships that pass through the crucial waterway, but it's not clear whether the U.S. will allow those tolls to continue.
That's not something we've said that we've definitively accepted.
Still, the president today floating the idea of a potential joint venture between the U.S. and Iran to collect the tolls.
The joint venture is something that was proposed by the president, but he was very clear in his statement last night. He wants to see the strait reopened immediately without limitation.
The Trump administration touting its success in killing Iran's leadership, destroying its navy, and setting back its nuclear program.
Operation Epic Fury was a historic and overwhelming victory on the battlefield. A capital V military victory.
But adding to the uncertainty, Persian Gulf countries reporting dozens of Iranian missile and drone attacks since the ceasefire began. NBC's Keir Simmons is in Saudi Arabia.
Iran attacked oil infrastructure here in Saudi Arabia again today. And Bahrain, just across the water there, has been bombarded during this war. Tonight, Iranian strikes even after the ceasefire, angering America's Arab allies.
The White House now saying Vice President Vance will lead a U.S. delegation to Pakistan this weekend for in-person talks with Iran.
If Iran wants to let this negotiation fall apart in a conflict where they were getting hammered over Lebanon, which has nothing to do with them and which the United States never once said was part of the ceasefire, that's ultimately their choice. We think that would be dumb, but that's their choice.
All right, Gabe joins us now from the White House. Gabe, looking ahead to those critical talks this weekend in Pakistan, walk our viewers through some of the key sticking points.
Well, Tom, the U.S. and Iran still seem to be far apart on several issues. Among them, who will ultimately control the Strait of Hormuz and whether Iran will hand over its enriched uranium. Today, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said the U.S. military would go into Iran and take it if necessary. Tom?
All right, Gabe, thank you. Despite that uncertainty, the ceasefire led to a huge rally on Wall Street today, with oil prices plunging. But the big question tonight, when will you see some relief at the pump? Here's Brian Chung.
Wall Street bouncing back big today after the de-escalation of the war with Iran. The Dow Jones having its best days since last spring, as oil prices plunged by 16%, the largest drop since 2020. At the pump, prices are still sky high, averaging $4.16.
I think it's getting pretty ridiculous, honestly. It's affecting, every part of my life, the people in my life, and I think it needs to come down.
But the dip in oil prices means relief could be on the way. Experts say prices could fall below $4 a gallon in a week or two. But oil analyst Samantha Gross says they likely won't drop back below $3 a gallon for a while.
We'll also be missing supply that was damaged during the conflict. So I don't see those pre-war prices coming back anytime soon.
It's not just gas. Prices on other things could stay elevated a while too, even if the ceasefire holds. Fertilizer costs are up, which could impact food prices, and airlines have raised bag fees as fuel costs have soared. Southwest today joining other airlines in charging $9 to $10 more for bags.
The reality is that it's a very volatile situation. We know we're going to be higher for longer.
It all hinges on the Strait of Hormuz, where 20% of the world's oil travels through.
If we get to a negotiated solution that more permanently opens the Strait of Hormuz, then I would expect to see prices really come down.
Gross also says it could take months, if not years, for badly damaged energy facilities in the region to rebuild, meaning even with
And Brian Chung joins us now live in studio. So, Brian, the big question here, when will more ships start passing through the Strait of Hormuz?
Yeah, well, Tom, ships aren't too eager to take the risk quite yet. We heard from Maersk. This is a major shipping company around the world, and they say that the ceasefire, quote, does not yet provide full maritime certainty. And Lloyd's, which is a company that insures ships making that type of passage, said it pretty plainly. They said it's highly unlikely trade will simply resume, Tom.
Okay, Brian, we'll be watching, though. The search for a missing American woman in the Bahamas is now intensifying. And tonight, we're hearing from her husband, who was alone on a boat with her when she vanished. George Solis is there for us and has this late detail.
Tonight, new clues in the search for an American woman who vanished at sea in the Bahamas. 55-year-old Lynette Hooker was on a boat ride with her husband Brian when she went missing. Lynette's daughter Carly sharing this voicemail with NBC News, which she says is from her stepfather.
And they have found a flotation device that I threw to Mom when she fell overboard. And so they haven't heard yet, but they can now focus all of their efforts in a smaller area.
Brian telling investigators the two left Hopetown for Elbow Key at 7:30 p.m. on Saturday, when Lynette later fell from their 8-foot dinghy. According to police, he says she was swept away, taking the boat's only key with her and forcing him to paddle for hours towards Marsh Harbor, reporting her missing around 4 a.m. Brian writing on Facebook, he is heartbroken, adding, despite desperate attempts to reach her, the winds and currents drove us further apart. We continue to search for her, and that is my sole focus. A marine forecast from that day indicating strong rough seas at the time Lynette went overboard. But Lynette's daughter now serious question the couple's history, revealing they had a volatile relationship.
They have a history of not getting along, especially when they drink.
The couple were avid sailors who documented their travels on social media.
Do the foghorn.
The search now in its 4th day, but so far there is still no sign of Lynette.
All right, George Solis joins us now live from the Bahamas. Brian Hooker said he paddled to shore for hours. You're standing where he eventually landed. What are you learning about that journey?
Yeah, Tom, authorities saying he paddled to this marina right here. No sign of him here today. Locals that know this harbor well say the waters here actually aren't that deep, about 5 feet across some stretches, and a strong enough swimmer could make it to safety. Tom?
Okay, George Solis. George, thank you. To Long Island now.